Success isn't all about greatness. It is about consistency. Consistent hard work leads to success and greatness will come. Wishing you all a wonderful evening. It's glad that we are all again here for a fantastic evening. It's all about Tantra Yukti and its application in understanding of Samhita with respect to Arthapati and Viparyaya Tantrayukti. Connected by iaskayush, zikSA Learning Series, streaming partner Vidya Grama. I'm Varshini Devika, studying second year from Government Ayurveda Medical College, Nagarkoi. It's my pleasure and delight to welcome the guest of the evening, Dr. Sivajyothy, Associate Professor, Department of Samhita and Siddhartha, Sanskriti Ayurveda Medical College and Hospital. Sir has completed his school course to Journalist Surgery, Ayurveda College and Hospital, Chennai. Sir did his PG from SDM College of Ayurveda and Hospital, Asan, Karnataka. He has also got certificate in medical vermology. Presently, Sir is working as Reader, Department of Basic Principles, Sanskriti Ayurvedic Medical College and Hospital. Sir did many presentations. One among them is presented and awarded second best paper, a review on the basis of Sansarpanijan Vivara at Samhita, a workshop in Samhita. Sir is also conducting many seminars, workshops, and CMP programs to enlighten many young minds. Welcome, sir. We are happy that you are here.
Thank you. Thank you.
The main utility of Tantra Yukti to support and expand the sentences used in Shastra and also to act as tool or device give more meaning to the sentence. The growth of a plant depends on the seed. In the same way, Tantra Yukti helps us to learn the Shastra better. So, without further delay, let's hand over the sentence to Sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Varshini. Good evening, one and all present here. Am I audible, sir? Hello.
Sir, you are live
Yes,
and
sir, you
clear.
Am
are.
I audible?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So, at the outset, I thank the whole team of IAS Ayurveda for giving me this opportunity to put my views on Tantrayukti and its application in the understanding of Samhita, special reference to Arthapati and Viparyaya Tantrayukti. I especially thank Dr. Ilanjarian sir for giving me this opportunity, principal, and I pay my tributes to Dr. Mallika KJ, late Dr. Mallika KJ, uh, who has guided me, taught me values and Samhita during my post graduation. I seek her blessings on this occasion at the outset, and I deposit my pranams to all the Ayurvedic Vaidyas who have played a key role in the propagation of Ayurveda through teaching or through their practice. So, moving on to the slide, let me not take much time in introducing Tantrayukti because most of us have learned what is Tantrayukti and what are all the Tantrayuktis. To be precise, Tantrayukti in those periods during which the Shastras have been written, they are basically utilized as a methodology to construct, compile, and even to comment on a textbook. Like for Vyakhyana 2, the same Tantrayukti has been applied and the meaning has been derived. Not only just meaning, so its application is also being derived to Tantrayukti. And we may say Tantrayukti is the methodology or device. It's a logical device, scientific device, which is widely used to understand and compose Shastra Granthas during the particular time period. So this Tantrayukti is applied and the shlokas are interpreted and appropriate meaning are being drawn out of the shloka. So the word Tantra is made up of two words, tan and with the suffix tran. Let us not get into the details of this because we have got lot many number of slides. So we all know very well this the upama given about the utility of Tantrayukti. So like how the lotus blooms when the sun rays falls on it. Similarly, the concepts explained in the sutra were made clear, will be made clear by using Tantrayukti. And similarly, it illuminates our minds. It illuminates the Gudartha in Tantras, like the light of lamp that illuminates a dark house. So the basic two purposes of Tantrayukti is Vakya Yojana and Artha Yojana. So Vakya Yojana, we know very well the conjunction or coordination of the sentences, which are elsewhere otherwise scattered or scrambled or placed in different parts of the Samhita. So some of the Tantrayukti which are basically utilized for Vakya Yojana like Yoga Tantrayukti, Uddesha, Nirdesha. And Artha Yojana is to bring about or to organize words which are not explicit or which are in a scrambled way or in a disorganized way and to put them together and uh, to get a appropriate meaning that is Artha Yojana. So some of the examples like Adhikarana, Padartha Tantrayukti, all these Tantrayuktis are Tantrayuktis serve the purpose of Artha Yojana. And the famous quote from Sushruta, like what is the utility of Tantrayukti? Asatwadi prayuktanam vyakyanam pratishedanam सौवाक्य सिद्धिरपि च क्रियते तंत्रयुक्तितः व्यक्तान उक्तस्तु ये हि अर्था लीना च अनिर्मलाः लेशोक्ता ये च केचित् केचित् युः तेषां चापि प्रसादम्. So to sideline the views that are not appropriate and to withhold uphold our own views and which have been mentioned in the textbook but still they are not obvious or something which has been mentioned in a brief manner or not in detail, to detail them, to make them clear. These are the utility or the prayojana of Tantrayukti. So we know very well different acharya have given a different number, but many of them they do correlate with each other because let's say like Charak Samhita has given 36 Tantrayukti, Sushruta Samhita 32 Tantrayukti, in Ashtanga Sangraha 36. And the commentator of Ashtanga Hridaya, Arunadatta, has given 36 Tantrayukti. And apart from that, Bhattara Rishchandra, the famous or the first initial commentator of Charak Samhita, has given 40 Tantrayukti. He has added 4 more to the 36 number given with Charak Samhita. And non-Ayurvedic texts like Vishnu Dharmottara Purana and Kautaliya Arthashastra and many other famous commentators of Ayurveda too have given their own numbers. So these are the list of Tantrayuktis given by Charak Samhita, Sushruta Samhita and Bhattara Rishchandra. We find 4 Tantrayuktis additional. I am not getting into the names of this because we are going to see the same in the forthcoming slides. Say Pariprashna, Vyakarna, Vyutkranta, Vidana, and these are some which have been added by Bhattara Rishchandra, but however, the later commentator Chakrapani has added them to the inside within the 36 list explained by Charaki Samhita in the main text itself. Say for example, Vyakarna is being added, Pariprashna is under Uddesha, Vyakarna is being kept under Vyakhyana, Yudkranta Vidhana under Nirdesha, and Hetu has been further added in Pratyaksha, and he has added it in Pramana. And if we get into the Tantrayukti, we can understand some of the Tantrayuktis are applicable all over the text, to the Shastra, the Tantra, or the Sthana, the Adhyaya, the specific Shloka, they are applicable everywhere. And many other Tantrayukti are dependent on some of these Tantrayuktis for the derivation or for their application and further interpretation. So one such Tantrayukti, and the first and foremost one is Adhikarana Tantrayukti. So Adhikaranam Nama Yam Artham Adhikritya Pravartate Karta. So here the motive or the subject towards which the author is acting upon, or what is the subject matter he is intending to explain in the particular shastra or sthana or adhyaya. So this is adhikarana tantrayukti. So, for example, I'm not actually getting into a controversy. Rather, we read Viruddha in the Adhikarana of Ahara. So, in all the Samhita, we find Viruddha Ahara. In the word itself, it is Viruddha Ahara, where the Adhikarana is Ahara and the Adhikarana is Annapana Vidhi, wherein the foods and dietetics or the foods and drinks have been explained. In that, Viruddha Ahara has been explained. Because many times, whenever we think about the famous example for Matra Viruddha, so, that is the mixing or utilization of equal quantity of Madhu and Grita, it's being considered as Viruddha. But we forget to remember that mixture, when it is done in the form of Ahara, becomes Viruddha. Rather, if it is used in a Aushadha Prakarana, say for example, there are many examples. We can say one of the example is Sitapaladi Churna, where there is where it's been mentioned some other Grita. Or once again in Baisiji Ratnavali, there is a Krishnadi Churna where it mentions Samamadhu Grita. So here they have clearly mentioned that Madhu and Grita should be taken in equal quantity as a Anupana along with the Churna to administer the Churna. So whether this is a Viruddha in this case, no, it cannot be a Viruddha because the text itself clearly says Samadhu Grita, by applying Paribhasha, it becomes equal quantity. And somewhere in Krishna Churna, they have directly mentioned equal quantity of Madhu and Grita. So there we need to understand this Adhikarana plays a very important role, and it will not be logical or judicial to extend the examples or types of Viruddha that have been explained in the Ahara Adhikarana to Aushadha Adhikarana. A lot other examples can be said. We'll skip that. The meaning of the words. Next, the meaning of the words. They are directly dependent on the Adhikarana Tantra. Say for example, Harsha. Harsha is happiness. Harsha is erection. Harsha is, we can say, somewhere in the Nidana of Atistolya. Harsha refers to Nitya, Harsha Nitya. It becomes someone who is happy always. He's not having worries. And somewhere when we say Harsha, in case of Roma Harsha, it becomes the erection, horripulations of the loma. So the meaning of the word, or we may say the Padartha Tantrayukti, is dependent on the Adhikarana Tantrayukti. Even we may say the Swasamya Tantrayukti is also dependent on Adhikarana Tantrayukti. A lot of other Tantrayukti are dependent on Adhikarana Tantrayukti. Because we cannot leave the Adhikarana and read the subject. So further it has been classified by the commentator into Shastra Adhikarana, Sthana Adhikarana, Adhyaya Adhikarana, Prakarana Adhikarana and Vakya Adhikarana. So if we take the example of the name of a chapter, say for example, Rasa Vimana. The word Rasa Vimana itself indicates what is the Adhikarana of the chapter. To explain about Rasa. So the first chapter, Adhikarana, is to explain about or to give the knowledge about Rasa. And if we go to the first shloka, he has explained the Adhikarana of the whole sthana. That is dosha beshija desha kala sharira sarahara satnya sattva prakriti vayasam manam avahita manasa. So these are the things, these are the subject matter that are going to be dealt throughout the Vimanasthana in different chapters. So we can find the same thing. For example, we find Rasa and dosha and Beshija in the first chapter. We find Desha, Kala, Sharira, Sara, Ahara. All these things have been discussed in the 8 chapters of Vimanasthana. So this becomes the Adhikarana of Vimanasthana. This explains the Adhikarana of Vimanasthana. Similarly, another one Tantrayukti which can be applicable throughout the Samhita is Yoga Tantrayukti. So the Yoga Tantrayukti has given two options. One is like just grouping the words that are scattered in the shloka and getting into a proper meaning. And apart from that, utilization of Panchavayava Vakya, Pratigna, Hetu, Udaharana, Upanaya and Nikamana. So we can apply both to each and every shloka. And if we apply this Pratigna, Panchavayava Vakya to every shloka, we get an in-depth meaning of in-depth meaning of the sloka and also the subject matter which are related to that particular sloka. It gives us a comprehensive idea. And Panchavya Vakya is applied to each and every sloka, and the extended application is more suitable in places that need to be elaborated. So basically, like in Tamil, we used to read Unjalani, wherein the word preceding and the succeeding word they will be conjoined with the word in the middle. How the pendulum moves or the unjal moves, swing moves. Similarly, it can be thought in that way, like the scrambled words can be brought together and they may be made into a sentence. So for that, we need to know the appropriate knowledge of karta, karna, karya, kriya pada, and all visheshana, and we have to keep them in an order to understand that particular sloka. Say, for example, here the example given in the text itself is pratigna. The fetus is formed out of procreative factors. In the sense, not only one factors, there are six factors as we know very well. Matrajati Shad Bhavas. Hetu is because it is having Matrajati Bhava. Udaharana is it is like a Kutagara. The Kutagara, the house or cottage is not formed of only one thing. It is formed of multiple things. Similarly, this fetus is not possible to be made only through one factor. There are six factors that have been explained. They are the Matrajadi Shadbhavas. So there has been a example, and after followed by the example, it has been discussed, and then the conclusion is brought. Thus, the fetus is formed out of the various procreative factors, that is Matrajadi Shadbhavas. Similarly, like the word dravya is mentioned only once, or vikara is mentioned only once. If we go to Charak Vimanasthana, where we speak about Vikriti Vishama Samaveta, wherein nahi Vikriti Vishama Samavetanam cha nanatmakanam paraspara anupahatanam paraspara upahatanam anyaisya vikalpitair vikalpitanam. So here the word dravya, het or vikara or rasa is being mentioned once, and we substitute these words at the end of this. Nahi vikriti vishama samavetanam dravyanam cha vikaranam. So this vikriti vishama samaveta is not only for dravya, it is for dravya and also for vikara. So that we put these words and we understand that vikriti vishama samaveta has been explained in regards to dravya and in regards to vikara. So similarly, we can make each and every shloka and we can understand the meaning. So due to, say for example, due to multiplicity of combination of causes, Panchamaha and Mahabhuta, in the formation of dravya and vikara. And the next reason mentioned is due to separation of one another, paraspara upahatana, in the dravya and vikara. So this dravya and vikara, though it is mentioned only once, we are putting it everywhere. We are substituting it, and we understand the whole meaning of the sloka. So next is Hetuartha. So this is the extended application of a particular principle or a siddhanta from one place or to one particular entity to other entities. So here the example is samana guna abhyaso dhatunam vriddhi karanam iti vadam vadadikya uktam tatra vadasya iti vaktavya yadayam samana shabdam dhatunam iti karoti. So here the context is samana guna abhyasa will lead to vriddhi. It is mentioned in the adhikarana of vata prakopakarana, and it is not only applicable to vata, it is applicable to other dosha and also to dhatu. So this one thing, one concept or a principle mentioned under one particular uh, adhikarana is being extended and applied to other entities. This is Hetuartha Tantrayukti. And similarly, we can say here Vyanjanapani Samsparshana Chandanodaga Sheetalaihi Sevyamano Bhajedasya Muktamani Vibhushitaha. So Kananani cha Sheetani Jalani Kusumani cha Grishma Kale Nishe. Yeah, this is Grishma Ritucharya, wherein how one should spend his days and what he should do during the Grishma Ritucharya has been explained. So this theory or this concept can be extended further extended further to in the context of Pitta Upakrama. So for Pitta Upakrama, these concepts can be adopted, or the same principle can be extended. And similarly, where we read in Sweta Ati Yoga, where the Grishma Charya has been mentioned. So the same thing, the concept is can be applied, extended to other entities also. And Padartha Tantrayukti we know very well. It's a very famous Tantrayukti. Padartho nama padasya padayo padanam varta padartha. So the example is hello. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry. There was an
Ah, you are audible, sir. No problem. You can continue the session now.
yeah. So yeah, next is Next is Pradesha Tantrayukti. So here Pradesha Tantrayukti, the keyword is Ekadesha. There are a lot of things that are in use or can be explained. But if it is explained, then it becomes Ativistara. It becomes so voluminous. So so the authors have confined themselves to explain only few of them, and especially these few that have been explained, they act as for both udaharana and lakshana. So these are examples, and we can understand other similar things by understanding the given example. So in that way, say an example is anupana. A lot of anupana have been utilized, but only few of them have been explained. But the siddhanta is explained, and few examples are explained. So by looking into these examples, we have to understand other anupanas if we come across something which is not being mentioned in the text. And say for example, we have got Dashimani, wherein say Pipali, Pipali, Moolam, Chavej, there are only 10 drugs are mentioned. Jivaniya Gana only 10 are mentioned. It doesn't mean that other dravyas, some other dravyas, they don't act as Deepaniya or they don't act as Jivaniya. So these are just examples. They are for Udaharanartha and for Lakshanartha. Like if you understand the drugs of Jivaniya Dashimani, if you come across some other dravya which are similar to the dravyas of Jivaniya Dashimani, we can understand that it will also do Jivaniya. Say for example, Kshira. Kshira is not mentioned in Jivaniya, but still Kshira is a Jivaniya dravya, we all know very well. So this is what is Pradesha Tantra. Uddesha Tantrayukti is Sankshepa Abhidhanam, Sankshepa. So the methodology used in the textbook is Uddesha Nirdesha, Samasa Vyasa. So to explain something in brief at first, in introductory chapters, or to give introduction before detailing them. And then in Nirdesha Tantrayukti, so this goes together most of the times because whichever things that have been mentioned in brief or in Sankshepa, they are always being explained. The Hetu Linga Aushadha Jnana, Hetu Linga and Aushadha is in very brief, it has been mentioned by Acharya, whereas the same that has been explained in detail in the whole of the text, that we can consider, or that is where Nirdesha Tantrayukti is being applied. And in Uddesha, in the first beginning, it is said like Pipali, Kshara, and Lavana. The Athakalu Trini Dravyani Nati Upanjita. What are they? Then only the names are mentioned, Pipali, Kshara, and Lavana. In the subsequent shlokas, it is being detailedly explained why should it be used, what happens if it is used in excess. All these things have been detailedly explained. That is a Nirdesha. Similarly, Ashtavidha Ahara Vishesha Ayatanani, only the names have been mentioned in the beginning shlokas. Later, similarly, Ahara Vidhi Vidhana, only the names have been mentioned, Ushnamasniyat, Snigdamasniyat. Later in the subsequent shlokas, each one of them have been explained in detail. And they are explained in the same order as in the Sankshepa Vachana. Their Vidhana comes. Nirdesha Tantrayukti. Explanation of what has been mentioned in Sankshepa. Sankshepa Uktasya Vivarana. Detail. Explaining in detail, in length, of the same thing which has been earlier mentioned in Sankshepa or in brief. Similarly, we can take the same example of Hetulinga and Aushadha, which have been explained throughout the Samhita. And the Uddesha here is Ahashtavidahara Vishesha Ayatana, where the names have been just enumerated: Prakriti Karana Samyoga Rashi Desha Kala Upayoga Sanstha and Upayoktra. And in the subsequent shloka, it has been detailedly explained: Prakriti separately, Karana separately, Samyoga separately. So they are all Nirdesha. Next is Vakyashesha. Vakyashesha is, I would say, Vakyashesha is dependent on the Adhikarana. In which Adhikarana, what kind of word we need to add. The example, the famous example that's been quoted is Jangalaihi Rasaihi Ityatra Mamsa Shabdaha Puryata. So Jangalaihi Mamsaihi Rasaihi. Jangala Mamsa Rasa. So if the word is appearing in the chikitsa of karshya, then we understand that it is mamsa rasa. Or if the rasa word is appearing somewhere else or in the Vaisheshika Kalpana, then we can understand this rasa defines or refers to parada. So in this way, this we are substituting a word and we are trying to understand the complete meaning through by substituting one word, and this substitution depends on the adhikarana, which adhikarana it is present mentioned there. We have to understand, say for example, prakriti hetu bhavanam. So pravritti hetur bhavanam asti ya nasti. If they are present, asti. Nasti is they are not present. But here in the context of Sudarsthana 16th chapter, where Subhav Paramvada has been explained, Pravritti hetu bhavanam asti na nirode asti karanam. So we are substituting a word basically. Satmyam nama tatra sarvarasam. So here we are substituting the word tatra sarvarasam satmyam pravaram. Avaram ekarasam satmyam. Madhyamam to pravara avara madhyamam. Madhyama satmyam to. So we are substituting this word satmya everywhere to get the complete statement and then the meaning of it. So prayojana, we know as it goes by the word, prayojana is kamayamanaha pravartate. What is the intention or to achieve what? If someone is following Ayurveda Shastra, what will be the effect or what is the prayojana of it? So dhatu samya kriya is the prayojana of the tantra. Dhatu samya kriya asya tantrasya asya prayojana. Similarly, Vimanasthana in the first chapter, nahi amanagno vimanasthanam upadekshamaha agnivesha. Here, what is the utility or the prayojana if someone has got the knowledge of mana or prabhava of dosha, beshaja, desha, kala, satmya, sara, all these things that is explained throughout the Vimanasthana. So the prayojana is he will become capable of alleviating diseases. That physician will achieve siddhi in his treatment of those diseases which are curable in nature. So this is the prayojana of knowing the prabhava or the knowledge of dosha, beshaja, and others. उपदेशो नाम आप्तानुशासनम यथा स्नेहम अग्रे प्रयुंजित तथा स्वेदनम अनंतरम. So here we need to understand that upadesha is not the strict measure that has been advised. It is not strict like always, must every time. Rather, it is an advice given by Apta. There may be deviations. There may be deviations or there can be deviations whenever and wherever necessary. So, Sneha, the general rule is Sneham Agre Prayanjita. Sneha should always be preceding Svedana, before doing Svedana. But if you say, if you see in the Chikitsa of Kaphaja Vikara, the word Snehana is being skipped and it starts with Svedana. So sometimes there may be a deviation or there can be a deviation. That is what we need to understand. These are just these are advices which need not be followed stringently in few cases. It's not that always, very few circumstances there can be deviation. Similarly, tini dravyani nati upayinjita adhikam anyebhyo dravyabhah pipalishara lavanamiti. So here Acharya advises not to use pipalishara and lavana in excess, but there are deviations in some other adhikarna like pipali vardhamana kshara. Similarly, similar other dravyas like balladaka vardhamana prayoga, pipali vardhamana prayoga, wherein we use in excess, but the context differs and it's not a strict measure, and wherever there is deviation is necessary, there the deviation is can be possible. Apadesha Tantrayukti is yet pratignatartha sadhanaya hetuvachanam. Giving a reasoning. Something is said to say that what is the reasoning? What is the reason? What is the logic behind that or why it is being said? So here the example is from Janapadodvansha Adhyaya Charak Samhita Vimanasthana, wherein Uttarottara Gariyata is there. Uttarottara Gariyata of Vayu, Jala, Desha and Kala is mentioned. Why is it so? Why it becomes Gariya? That reason is being stated that the later words are more unavoidable than the preceding ones or the prior ones. So that is the reason that has been stated. So this hetu or the reason that's being given where we need to understand it is Apadesh Tantra. So similarly, Pipalik Shara and Lavana, why should they be not utilized in excess? So the reason given is the reasoning why they should not be used in excess. Say for Pipali, it is not going to reduce vata because it's not that snigdha, and it is going to increase pitta by its Vishnu guna, and also it is going to increase kapha by its prakledi nature. So something which can vitiate all the three dosha if it is utilized non-judiciously is the reason, and this is the reason. Its composition or its action is the reason why it should not be utilized in excess. Athidesha Tantrayukti. Athidesha नाम यत्किञ्चिदेव प्रकाश्यार्थम् अनुक्तार्थ साधना एवम् अन्यदपि. So something has been mentioned, and it is not that which has been mentioned, it is not confined to what has been mentioned. Something else, from somewhere else, told by some other author or in some other place of the same textbook, they can be included. Say for example, Sadvrutta, it is not just only that has been mentioned in the given context or Sadvrutta. Apart from that, many other things that are scattered in this text or through mentioned through somebody else or that is in practice in the society, all of them can be considered under this Sadvrutta. So, similar other example is Pipalik Shara and Lavana. It is not only that Pipalik Shara and Lavana are the three, rather Adhikam Anyebhyo Dravyaha, other dravyas which are similar to these three should also be included in this context or can be included in this context, like Chitraka and Balladaka, which are going to act in a similar way, either like Pipali or Kshara or Lavana, and going to increase all the three dosha or not going to maintain the Dhatu Samya Kriya. They also can be included. So this is not mentioned here, rather it can be taken wherever from included from somewhere else. Similarly, the Chikitsa for Ama, explained in the Charak Vimansthana second chapter. Anyascha yaha kaschidha asti margo hitopayogeshu bhajeta tam cha. Not only the Ama Pradosh Chikitsa that has been mentioned here is the one and only thing. Rather, from other places, Anya, like in Adhisara Chikitsa, Chardi, Grahani Chikitsa, those concepts or Siddhanta that have been mentioned over there also can be many places, not only one place, can also be utilized. Like in case of Grahani, depending on the Ashraya of the Ama, the Chikitsa differs. Similarly, that also can be included in the Ama Pradosha Vikara Chikitsa that has been mentioned in the second chapter of Vimanasthana. Nirnaya. Nirnaya, like as we say in the colloquial language, Nirnaya Nama Vicharitasya Arthasya Vyavastapanam Yata Chatushpada Beshajatwadi Vicharam Gurtva Abhidiyate Yaduktam Shodashagalam Purvadhyaya Beshajam. So there is a conclusive fact or a conclusive opinion which is being put forth. So after discussing about Chikitsa Chatushpada, it is concluded that the presence of all the Chikitsa Chatushpada with all their gunas applied properly will lead to preservation of health and alleviation of the disease in those diseases which come under the category of Sadhya or treatable. Similarly, so when Agnivesha questioned what are the reasons that bring disease with similar lakshana in individual, same lakshana, but it comes to all, it happens to all or many of the people who differ by different factors. So the reply is It is the Vayu, Jala, Desha, and Kala. These are the common factors that are responsible. So, here, after discussing, he explains some conclusive facts. So, this conclusive facts or statements are considered as Nirnaya. Prasanga. So, some things, Purvabhidasya Arthasya Prakaranagatvatvadina Punaravidhanam. Some things are, some concepts or some things are, some are being repeated in the textbook. So if we see repetition, once again when it becomes tantra dosha, but considering the necessity of the given adhikarana, considering the necessity to repeat, some things are being repeated. So say for example, in case of 11th chapter, it is mentioned that Ati Pravadrishya is Ati Yoga. Again, it is repeated in the same in Sharirasthana by explaining about the Nidana for Vyadi. So the same thing, it is being explained in 11th chapter. Once again, it's being reiterated in the Sharirasthana. So considering the necessity, it has been repeated, and that is Prasanga Tantrayukti. Rasastavat Shat Madramla Lavana Katutikta Kashayaha. Che Rasa, 6 rasas. This is already mentioned in the first chapter, Sutrasthana. But still it has been mentioned once again. The names have been enumerated in Vimanasthana. Because in the Vimanasthana, in first chapter, Rasa Vimana, the Adhikarana is to explain about the Rasa. So here comes the importance or necessity to explain or mention the Rasa again. So it has been mentioned again. So this is what is Prasanga Tantra. Similarly, the relation between rasa and dosha, which rasa will increase, which dosha and which rasa dosha sambandha, it's been explained already in Sutrasthana. But still, once again, as the adhikarana or the context arises and the necessity arises, it's been once again explained in the Vimanasthana first chapter. Ekanta Tantrayukti, yad avadharanena uchyate, avadharana. There is no alternative statement. This statement is categorical. So there is no ifs and buts. It is categorically stated. There is avadharana. There is a sense of compulsion in this statement. That is ekanta tantrayukti. That is nija vyadi is produced by sharirika vikara. So nija vyadi can be produced only by sharirika dosha and nothing else. There is no deviation. There cannot be any ifs and buts. Similarly, the nidana for every disease is basically prajnaparada. And prajnaparada eva, one and only prajnaparada. So there cannot be any other things. We can explain prajnaparada, but prajnaparada is the moola for every disease, only prajnaparada. So that, so many times when where we find this eva, we can understand that it is a categorical statement. There ekanta tantrayukti comes into play. Sarvam dravyam panchabodhikam asminarte. All the dravyas are panchabodhika, all the karya dravyas are panchabodhika, and there is no deviation. There cannot be no deviation, and it has not been contradicted anywhere throughout the text. So if you take any karya dravya, it is made up of Panchamahabhuta. They are Panchamahabhuta Vikara. Anekanta. There may be deviations or this or that kind of understanding. Anekanto nama अन्यतर पक्षानवधारणं यथा ये हि आतुराः केवलात् भेषजादृते म्रियन्ते न च ते सर्व एव भेषजोपपन्नाः समुत्तिष्ठेरन्. So anekanta is basically opposite to ekanta, and these are not absolute statements or these are not categorical statements. There can be other deviations. So Shodasa Kala Besaja, if applied properly, will do Arogya Rakshana, but not in those patients whose diseases are under the category of asadhya or incurable category. So here this statement that presence of Shodasha Kala Besaja is if applied properly, will lead to arogya rakshana. So if it is an absolute statement, then it includes all types of diseases, sadhya, sadhya, and the further division of sadhya and asadhya. But it is not applicable universally. It's not a categorical statement. There are conditions applied. There are ifs and buts, or there are some terms for this. So this is a anaikanta. Similarly, in case of Kala, the division of Kala is not only Samvatsara. There are multiple divisions or multiple ways that we can divide the Kala, like Punaha Samvatsara, or we can divide it into divided into Kshana. We can consider Muhurta, a lot other Ritu, Masa. So there can be different possibilities. So there is no particular absoluteness in the statement. What is basically exception? Utsarga, Apavarga, Nyaya. When we read in Nyaya, there is a Utsarga, Apavarga, Nyaya, wherein it speaks about exceptions. So generally, there are few things or that are included, and something has been excluded or kept away. It's an odd thing that is being kept away. So in case of Paryushita Anna, generally Paryushita Anna is contradicted, but except Mamsa, Shushka Shaka, and Phala. So here Shushka Mamsa is an exception to the general rule. So this basic exception to general rule is Apavarga. Similarly, if we read in case of Dhumapana, so there is where Chatrino Gachati Nyaya is applicable, applied, wherein Utsarga Apavarga Nyaya is applied. These are some of the places where this Apavarga Tantrayukti is being utilized. So here, generally in Prakriti Samaveda, a lot of Dravya follow this Prakriti Samaveda, but not all. There are some exceptions, and those exceptions are Vikriti Vishama Samaveda, and those exceptions are further explained by Ashtanga Hridayakaras, Vichitra Pratyarabdha also, and Prabhava Dravya also. So there are exceptions to the general notion or general statement. Purvapaksha nama pratignyartha sandushakam vakyam. So basically there is a pratignya objection to the pratignya. So when it is mentioned that no fishes should be taken along with the milk, the someone objects and raises a question that no, this is not so, and chilichima can be taken. This is an vitiation to the pratignya. Similarly, when Atreya stated that hitahara upayoga will lead to purusha vriddhi and ahitahara leads to vyadhi, then Agnivisha raised a doubt, which itself is brings about pratignya, vitiation to the pratignya or pratignya sandushaka. He raised a question. Actual practice, we find that so-called wholesome and unwholesome articles bring about opposite effects depending upon the variations. There are variations which may bring opposite effect, because wholesome, if not taken in regards to dose, time, kriya, bhumi, deha, avastha, it may bring about unwholesome effect. So the statement put forth by Agnivesha is Pratignya Sandushaka. He basically put forth an objection. So similarly, when we read the Maharogadhyaya, where there is a question raised by Maitreya about the utilization or the usefulness of chikitsa in all the cases, that can be considered as example for Purvapaksha. Vidhana is the order where the Acharya or the Sutrakara has followed while explaining something. An order is being followed, and this following of an order is called Vidhana Tantrayukti. So while explaining Malayana, so it's being mentioned, if the Mala is increased in Matra and thus Baddha to Malamarga, and Mala Vriddhi is understood by Gaurava, and Mala Sangha is Mala Kshaya is understood by Lagutva of the Malayana. So Gaurava of the Malayana, Mala Vriddhi. So the Krama on which it is being explained, so based on that we have to appropriately arrange the words. Malavruddhi Gaurava, Sangha Malakshaya Lagutva. So similarly, in this order of explanation, Taila Sarpi Madhuni, Vada Pitta Sleshma Prashamana. So here the order is Taila Sarpi Madhu, Vada Pitta Sleshma. Match the following. Taila Vata, Sarpi Pitta, Sleshma, Madhu Sleshma. Prashamanartham, Prashamanarthani Dravyani Bhavanti. So here the order plays the role to understand or to derive the meaning that Taila will reduce Vata, Sarpi will reduce Pitta, and Madhu will reduce the Sleshma. So that order is Vidana. So similarly, there are other examples too in the treatment of pranavaha sroto vikara, annavaha sroto vikara, prana udakanavahanam drishtanam swasiki kriya, karya trishnopashamani tataiva ama pradoshiki. So here the name of the srotas have been mentioned all together in one part, and the chikitsa has been preceding. So we have to do match the following here and understand for which sroto vikara, which chikitsa has to be utilized. So Udaka and Anavaha srotas are same as those describing the treatment of Shwasa, Trishna and Ama Pradoshaja. Prana, Shwasa. If it is Annavaha srotas, it becomes Ama Pradoshaja Vikara Chikitsa. This is the order, or we can say in short, match the follower, matching. So next is Anumata. Anumata is whenever there is acceptance towards some other's opinion, that is Anumata. So many a times Ekiya Sutra we find in Shastra, Tantra. So these Ekiya Sutra indicate that they accept this. Otherwise, why should they mention it? Or sometimes they directly say this is the opinion of somebody else. That is what is Samshamanam iti Ekiya Sutra. So they have mentioned because they clarify their point that they accept the view of somebody else. It is not their own, but they still accept the view. So this is Anumata, accepting the opinion of others. Like another example is Ati Bahutvad Kalu, Kechit, Aparisankheyani, Achakshate Srotamsi, Parisankheyani. There are two opinions. Some say Aparisankhya, some say it is numerable, Parisankhya. So both of them are being accepted. So if we go hello, am I audible? Hello? Yeah, I think I am audible now. So next is Vyakhyana. Vyakyanam nama yat sarva buddhi vishayam vyakriyate yata pratame mase samurchitaha. So PPT slides are visible. Or the slides visible? Sir? Are the slides visible, sir?
Slides are visible, sir. You can continue the
Yeah.
session.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So Vyakhyanam nama yad sarva buddhya vishayam vyakriyate. Something which has been elaborately explained, not in a short form. It's being elaborately explained, which is not known to everyone or which is not known to all. So that is a Vyakhyana Tantrayukti. This Vyakhyana Tantrayukti is not that the commentator explains in detail. Rather, the Tantrakarta himself explains in detail something which is not known to all. Say, for example, formation and month-wise growth of embryo, Masanumasika, Garbhavritti, that has been explained in detail every month what happens, which is not in general known to everyone, is an example for Vyakhyana. So, like Rasavirya Vipakanam Samanyam Yatra Lakshate, Visheshaha Karmanam Chaiva, Prabhavastasya Smrutaha, Katukaha Pake, Viryo Ushnas Chitrako Mataha. So, here in Atre Vadrakapiya, while explaining Prabhava, both Chitraka and Danti are being taken. And despite of the similarity, Danti acts as a purgative. In detail, he explains the purgative effect is not found in Chitraka and which is not known to everyone, or in detail, which is the specific action. Samshayo nama Visheshakanksha Nirdharito Ube Vishay Jnanam Yata Mataram Pitaram Chayake. So while we read like Prama, Aprama, we find like the kind of a type of Aprama is Samshaya, wherein more than one thing comes into the picture and there is a doubt whether this or that, or more than one thing comes into the picture. So here both Matara, Pitara. Some say it is Matara, Pitara or the Karna. Some say it is Swabhava, some say it is Paranirmana, somebody's opinion is Adricha. So there are multiple things, there are alternatives for a same thing. There are so here a doubt arises. So what is the reason really why on the Janma happens? What is the reason for that? So this multitudinous or multiple things when come into picture, they create a doubt. Similarly, in case of Janapada Dvamsa Adhyaya, while explaining what are the reasons for Janapada Dvamsa, after hearing Atraya, that Vayu, Jala and Desha and Kala are the Karna for Janapada Dvamsa, Agnivesh wanted to know that what causes their vitiation and how the vitiation of these factors have led to diseases that kill people. So he wants to know why the vitiation happens. So there is a vishesha akanksha, specific knowledge. There is a icha or a doubt to know some particular jnana, vishesha jnana. That is the samshaya. Why it happens so? Why did it happen so? So that is a samshaya. Atitavekshana. Yad adhitam eva uchyate yata sa kuti taccha shayanam jwaram samshayam api. Samshamayati. So here some statement referring to the past, something which has been already mentioned and that has been taken or referred here somewhere else. It's been already mentioned. That is the types of Sweda and how it should be performed. All those have been explained in Swedhadhyaya of Sutrasthana. Later in Jwara Chikitsa, once again when it is mentioned, Kuti, Shayana or Sweda, it refers to that explanations that have been already explained in Swedhadhyaya. Similarly, in other contexts, तत्र प्रकृतिरुच्यते तद्यथा माशमुद्गयो शूकरयनयोः माशमुद्ग शूकरयन indicates or they point towards the explanation of the qualities of Masha, Mudga, Shukara and Yena in Annapana Vidyadhyaya in the Sutasthana. Similarly, by mentioning Ritusatmya Apeksha, it refers to Tasya Sitiya wherein the Ritu Satmya, what should be accustomed in each and every Ritu. So that is Ritu Satmya, and that is being explained in Tasya Sitya, which has been already explained. So the opposite to that of Adhita Vekshana is Anagata Vekshana, that is which has not been explained earlier, but referring to something which is being explained in the later part of the text. So Tiktagrita is mentioned in the treatment of Jwara, whereas Tiktagrita has not been explained previously before to Jwara Chikitsa. It comes in Kushta Chikitsa Adhyaya, wherein it is referring to that which is being explained later or in the future chapters. Similarly, here in the first chapter of Vimanasthana, Manovigata is mentioned. This word Manovigata refers to Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha that is being mentioned in the second chapter. So, Manovigata, what is Manovigata? Manovigata is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Irshya, and that is not being mentioned earlier, rather, it is in the next chapter, succeeding chapter, second chapter, it has been mentioned. So, by using this Adhita Vekshana and Anagata Vekshana, we can make connections between various chapters and various adhikarana. So by making these connections, we get a comprehensive idea of the given chapter or the given shloka, and the connections will help in the overall understanding of the concept. So these help in the comprehensive understanding of the shloka and their meaning. Swasamya, some particular text uses some particular terms. Tantrakaraihi vyavaharartam samya kriyate. So this particular term, if we go in some other text or in some other shastra, they will be different. They will but in this particular context, they refers to some particular thing. So some examples like Jentaka, Holaka, these are all the words which are specifically referring to, which specifically refer to that particular method of Svedana. Similarly, Rashi. So Rashi refers to Parigraha and Sarvagraha and Parigraha, which refers to the whole quantity of the whole meal and the quantity of the separate portion. Similarly, we can take Vega. Vega in the context of Navegandarniya, Vega in the context of Vamana, Virechana, they are specifically, they indicate towards the number of bouts. Uhyam nama yad anibaddam grante prajnaya. So there is basically something mentioned in the text, and we detect something from through our own intellect which is not mentioned in the text. Like in Shatskanda, the drugs have been mentioned. So which are useful in a particular disease, then they should be removed and the new. So if they are not available and if they are not useful in a particular disease, we have to remove the drugs from the Shatskanda and we have to add some new ones that would be useful in that particular disease. Like in Trivida Gukshiyam Adhyaya, Murtanam Ahara Vikaranam, Ekam Dravam, Ekam Punarvada Pitta Sleshmana. So there are only mentioning of two things, Murta Ahara and Drava Ahara. Whereas we know there are four types of Ahara, or we may say Ashita, Kadita, Pita and Lida ya Lehya. So here we have to detect by ourselves. Murta refers to Ashita and Kadita, whereas the Drava refers to Pita and Lida. So wherever there is Uha Poha, that is that comes into role, there we can say the Tantrayukti applied is Uhya Tantrayukti. Samuchaya is grouping or enumeration, bringing together, basically giving a list. So this cha Cha many a times refers to this and this and this and this. So it, by looking into that, we can understand that it is a grouping or a listing. Varnasya, Swarasya, Varna and Swara. List of Varna, Prakriti Varna, list of Vikriti Varna, list of Prakriti Swara, list of Vikriti Swara. So basically listing. So that is what is we can say Samuchaya Tantrayukti. Similarly, grouping together, grouping Hastidanti Hemavati Shama Trivruta Dogudaha. So here a list has been given wherein these are the list or the grouping is based on what are they useful for. So the Phalini and Molini which are utilized for Shodhana has been mentioned. So there is some based on some criteria the grouping has been made. So generally always there will be a criteria that has been applied to group. Similarly, in case of Dashamani, if we say Jivaniya Dashamani or Jivaniya Dashamani, Deepaniya Dashamani, here the karma of the drugs or the criteria, they are all common. And based on that criteria, it has been grouped and a list has been given. So this is Samuchaya Tantra. Nidarshana is Murka Vidusham Buddhi Samya Vishayo Drishtantaha. So one giving an example which is basically simple and easy, which can be both understood by an expert of the subject or a lay person. Say we have seen the example of Yathambuja Vanasyarkaha. That itself is a good example for Nidarshana, where we know everyone, it is common, whether it is a subject expert of Ayurveda or some a lay person, they know very well, like when the sunrays fall over the lotus bud, it blossoms. So such examples which are very common, which are given to make something understand, that is what is Nidarshana Tantra. Some examples, like say for example for the desha wherein shara is more used, Prachya China desha, Lavana that has been used in more like Baliga, Saurashtrika, Saindava, Sauviraka desha. These are some of the examples of places where it is being utilized in excess. So they basically giving something which is known to everyone as example to make them understand something which is not known. So nirvachana is, it is a bit more technical. It is not a easy or a common example, whereas it is understood only by the learned or the expert of the particular subject. Nirvachanam nama pandita buddhigamyo drishtantaha nyayate nityaga seva kalasya atya karanam. So here kala is the karana itself. So kala is always changing. So without any help from anything, so also the materials in the universe undergo change by themselves because of Kala itself. So this is a bit technical, and this example or a normal person, it becomes a bit difficult for him to understand this. Rather, someone who has learned about Kala, someone who has learned about Ayurveda, they can understand it easily. And it is being explained like some definitions, they can be kept under this Tantrayukti. Sarvasya graha sarvagraha, sarvatasya graha parigraha. So if we consider sarvagraha and parigraha, the whole meal if taken together it becomes sarvagraha, and the quantity of each portion it becomes a parigraha. So basically it's a definition. Not everyone can understand this definition. Only the subject expert can understand it. Sanniyoga or Niyoga Tantrayukti, wherein the author or gives a strict direction, so there cannot be any deviation. So that kind of strict deviation is called as sanyoga. So the example taken is given here is to give a strict instruction to the patient who is being undergone, who is being given sweda in the kuti. Strict instruction is being given that he will not leave that bench that has been formed, so that there is a fear he may go into the fire that is being made in the center of the kuti. So similarly, there is strict direction that one should eat hitahara. So there cannot be deviation, that sometimes you can eat ahitahara or sometimes you can eat indulge in ahita. No, always you are supposed to, always, anytime. Let it be when the person is healthy or the person is diseased, whatever it is, he can eat only hitahara. So that strict direction is called as sanyam. Vikalpana, generally wherever we find the find this or that alternatives, wherever alternatives or option is being given, so there the Vikalpa Tantrayukti is understood. So sarodakam va atha kushodakam va, this or that. So either sarodaka or kushodaka. Similarly, in this, while explaining how samana, not only samana guna will increase, rather samana guna ya samana guna bhuishtava, both samana guna or samana guna bhuishta, dono will lead to, both of them will lead to vriddhi. Similarly, viparita guna or viparita guna bhuishta, both of them will lead to krasa. So here the word va indicates vikalpa or option or alternatives that are that are possible in the given context. Pratyutsara. Pratyutsara nama upapatteya paramada nivaranam yata vayor vidaha. So the example taken here is like refuting others' view with some reasoning. I am saying like you are wrong, and why are you wrong? I am giving you a reasoning for that. So here basically I am not having any, I am not stating any personal opinion and upholding it. Rather I am just telling you are wrong, and this is the reason why you are wrong. So that the example taken here is the Sambhashana is taken here. Ayurveda says Sarira is found by Rasa because Vyadi or Rasaja. Hiranyaksha accepts the argument, arguing that Purusha is not Rasaja, but he is Shad Dhatuja. So he basically, the Hetu is being refuted here, and he is refuting the view of Ayurveda. Pratyutsara, another example is Bhadraga, in Atre Bhadragapiya, Sakunteya, Bhadragapiya, they are indulging in a discussion about rasa, wherein one says like Bhadragapiya says the rasa is only because rasa is the artha of Rasanendriya and it's not different from Jalamaka. So Shakunteya refutes the opinion of Bhadragapiya, saying that Ekarasa, it cannot be so, because rasa, the yoni and the rasa cannot be the same. So by giving an opposite hetu, he basically is refuting the view of Bhadragapiya, and here Pratyutsa Tantrayukti is applied. Uddara. So a confirmation statement is made after refuting others' opinion with a reasoning or logic. This is not so because this is so and this is this. This is the confirmation statement. So the example taken here is Utpatti of Purusha and Vyadi. So after hearing, the chairperson Atreya is there, after hearing all the opinions wherein one refutes the opinion of other, Atreya explains, refutes every each and every opinion, and he upholds and gives a conclusory confirmation statement that so sampath of the bhava leads to utpatti of purusha and vipatti of the same bhava that causes vyadhi, with a logical reasoning for refuting of each and every view. So this confirmatory statement, which is made at the end after refuting others' opinion with a reasoning why it's being refuted. So this is Uddara Tantrayukti. So similarly in Atreya Bhadragapi Adhyaya, after hearing all the opinions about the number of rasas, Atreya concluded that there are only 6 rasas. he establishes that only six rasas, not more or not less, and to refute everyone's opinion, the like it's not one, he gives a reasoning, it's not two, he gives reasoning, and finally gives a confirmatory statement. So this is a Uddara Tantrayukti. So Sambhava Tantrayukti is basically referring to the place, source, or origin. So here the example is Piplu Vyanga Nilika happen over the face. So the place where it originates. So the place, site, origin, or the source is the that which indicates that is the Sambhava Tantrayukti. Desha Punah Sthanam Cha Achashtahe. The first chapter it's been mentioned like Desha indicates place or area from where the dravya is grown, or from where the person belongs to, or where the person who is taking ahara belong to. So based on this, some things can be inferred. Like the guna of the particular dravya can be inferred, whether it will be Shita, whether it will be Lagu, whether it will be Guru, and the Satmya of the person can be inferred. So some person belonging to particular part of the India, they may have some particular Satmya. So by explaining the basis or the origin or the place, some other things can be inferred in regards to the dravya or the person or in regards to the vyadi. So I have taken Tantrayukti, Viparyaya and Arthapati Tantrayukti at the last because so Viparyaya Tantrayukti we sometimes we or I would say I get confused like whether it is Viparyaya or it is Arthapati. What's being applied? So for that we need to understand what is Viparyaya and what is Arthapati. So Viparyaya is the reversed form or the contrary or the inverse or a transposition of what has been mentioned. So it's been explained through tasya pratilomyam viparyaya. So transposition. उक्तार्थ वैपरीत्येन लक्षणं स्यात् विपर्ययः प्रतिलोमेन साधनं विपर्यय विपरीतम् अदृष्टस्य इति. So if we see the examples, विपर्ययो नाम अपकृष्टात् प्रतीपोदाहरणं तथा निदानोक्त अन्यस्य न उपसेरते विपरीतानि च उपसेरते. So most of the places we find that we have to apply Viparya Tantrayukti by this word Viparita, Viparyaya, Anyata. Through these words, we can understand that we have to understand the oppositeness of what has been given. So Nidhanokta Karna or not Upashaya, while the opposite act as a Upashaya. So if somewhere Santarpana is mentioned as the Nidhana, the Viparita should be Apatarpana, and we have to understand that the Apatarpana will act as a Upashaya Karna or Chikitsa. So understanding this contrary view or idea along with what has been stated, it's not that we understand only the contrary view or the contraposition. We understand the given and also we apply Viparya, we take the opposite thing and we understand all together. So this is how Viparya Tantrayukti works. So Iman Yevam Dosha Yuktas Chaturo. So in Vimanasthanam third chapter, it has been mentioned the Dushita Vayu, Jala, Bhumi and Kala are the Karna for Janapada Dhamsa. And after it is being mentioned, the mentioned Lakshana for Dushta Vayu, Dushta Lakshana, the Bhumi and Kala, the opposite of that what has been mentioned, it should be considered that they are Prakrita, Avikrita and they are all good for health. So similarly, like Stimita, opposite to that of Astimita Vayu. Stimita Vayu, Astimita Vayu. So if Vayu is calm mentioned, then the Viparya is the Vayu which is not calm. So if it is mentioned Adichala and the Viparya for that it should is Anadichala. Similarly, in case of Janapada Dhamsaniyadya, it's being mentioned for Ayu. When the best of Daiva and Purushakara come together, it leads to a long life and happiness. So and यहाँ पे हेतुर विपरीतस्य च इतरा. So that's where I emphasize again and again. Wherever there is Viparya Tantrayukti that needs to be applied, in most of the places, either Viparyaya, Viparita, or Anyata, these kind of words are being used by the author himself. That is the place where we are supposed to apply this Viparya Tantrayukti. So here, if we apply the Viparya Tantrayukti, we can understand the weak dosha, Hina Deva, and He the Purushakara. When it come together, it will lead to the opposite of long life, that is a Hina Ayu, and opposite of that of Sukha is Dukkha. Similarly, in case of Annapana Vidyadhyaya, it's being mentioned like in the same species. Pumsam, Strinam cha Lagavam, Linga Samanya. There is same species, we say goat, male and female. So this Viparita is Anyata, Lagavo Anyata, Swajatau Lagavo Anyata. This is the keyword, Anyata. It refers that here Viparita Tantrayukti or Viparya Tantrayukti is being applied, and we have to apply for compulsorily Viparya Tantrayukti, and we have to understand both the meaning given and the opposite of is that which is not given here. So similarly, we can state other examples also. So in Dirgha Jiviti Adhyaya, Samanya is defined as Tulyartata. Tulyartata hi Samanyam. So if we apply the Viparya of that, then we can understand that the effect will be Atulyartata if there is a Vishesha. So similar other examples are just mentioned here. So next is Arthapati. So inference from the circumstances, a disjunctive hypothetical syllogism. It is not just directly opposite. Arthapati is not Viparya. Just understanding a opposite meaning is not Arthapati. We infer some particular. So this when we use this word infer, there comes the utilization of yukti and tarka. So when we apply Arthapati, a different meanings, many number of meanings that has not been mentioned here will come out, and we have to apply Tarka and Yukti to understand which one is the right. So implication of the unmentioned by the indication of the. So the famous example that's being taken is Dadi should not be taken at night, nanakam Dadi Bunjita. Means it can be taken in the daytime. So understanding something which is not mentioned, that it can be taken in daytime is okay. And not only that, we are going to understand here that Dadi should not be taken in the night is the given statement. And the reason we need to understand it is Advishyandi and it causes Srotoroda, all the. And so when if we ask when should it be taken, then the question with or without adjuvants mentioned. So if it is said it should not be taken at night, then there is no question of whether with adjuvants or without adjuvants. This doesn't arise at all. So the statement is it should not be taken in the night. So the implied meaning is it can be taken in the day. So the condition or the implied meaning that is understood is it can be taken in the daytime, but not with the not without any adjuvants. It should be taken with any of the adjuvants mentioned here. So this is the whole meaning that will get generated. So we have to understand that curd can be taken in daytime only, but not without adjuvants, always along with the adjuvants. Once again, if we apply Yukti, Hope I'm visible and audible again. So sorry for the interruption. So another example that we can take is, it's been mentioned that one should habitually take Gorasa, Ikshuvikara, Vasataila, Navodana during winter season. And if he takes, his lifespan will not get decreased. So if we apply Tantrayukti, Arthapati Tantrayukti, so someone who is not habituating the above mentioned preparation in winter in his lifespan will get decreased, or it's not going to increase. So here we can say Arthapati involves Tarka and Yukti. We have to analyze the factors which are adjoining, or the factors which are connected to the given statement. Not only the statement, the factors connected to the statement also need to be analyzed. Like in winter, Agni will be intense, and as the Agni being intense, heavy and oily foods will lead to improve, will be appropriate, and it will not lead to Agni destructing our Dhatu. So in Ashtavaninditi Adhyaya, one who desire to overcome obesity have to gradually indulge more and more in Prajakara, Vyayama, Vyavaya. So if we apply Arthapati Tantrayukti, you can understand that one who wants to gain weight for Kashya, he should reduce these regimens like Prajakara, Vyayama, and Vyavaya. So not doing Prajakara, not only not doing Prajakara, doing Divasopna also can be understood if we apply Arthapati Tantrayukti. So once again, in case of Ahara Vidhi Vidhana, you can find this Snigdhamashniyat, Ushnamashniyat. So wherein the statement is mentioned that if we take Ushna Ahara, it gives satisfaction and increases Jatragni. The food is digested quickly and will make the Vayu to move in Anulomagati, and it reduces Kapha dosha. So if we apply Arthapati Tantrayukti, we can understand that if you don't eat Ushna Ahara, so the desired effects will not be obtained, and apart from that, the Jatragni will not be increased. The food is not going to get digested quickly, easily, and it is not going to do Vatanulomana. So in this way, we can apply Arthapati to other shlokas. So some other examples also are there. So basically, these two Tantrayukti, Arthapati and Viparyaya, are being kind of confused while applying them on the Samhita. So if we keenly observe the examples cited by Tantrakara and also by the commentators, we can understand there is difference. And most of the places where Viparita has to be applied, there is directly mentioned that Viparyaya, Viparita, Anyata, Atava, these words indicate that there should be application of Viparaya Tantra. And Arthapati, if applied, and new meaning is derived from the given statement which has not been mentioned directly, or sometimes it may give an opposite meaning too, and a partially opposite or a wholly new meaning. But we have to analyze, we have to do tarka, and intensive use of logic is applied in Arthapati to get the correct meaning, of what has not been mentioned from the given meaning. So we may say in case of Viparyaya, not much of logic is utilized, or we can say like no logic is being utilized. Like what has been given, use understand the directly opposite thing. That's all. Whereas in Arthapati, we are supposed to utilize logic and do some tarka to get a derive a new meaning. So while applying Viparyaya, the word-to-word opposite details are being taken, whereas Arthapati, a derivation of a whole new meaning based on the complete statement in the given circumstance. So here the circumstance becomes important, and not the word-to-word meaning is taken, rather the complete statement is considered, the meaning of the complete statement is considered to derive into a new meaning. So if the Viparya Tantrayukti is applied to Nanaktam Dadibunjita, the example cited above, then what happens? It just gives the meaning that Dadi can be taken in the daytime without any conditions applied to it or without any adjuvants, or it can be utilized daily in daytime, but that is not the case. So that is why Arthapati and Viparya Tantrayukti needs to be observed bit more keen, and usually I myself used to confuse between Viparya Tantrayukti and Arthapati, and I thought I should get a bit more clarity. That is the reason I have taken these two specially. So to conclude, Tantrayukti is a very important tool for Vakya Yojana and Artha Yojana. It helps to understand the Gudarthas of the Shastra. So, and moreover, Tantrayukti preserves the originality of the science and thus keeps the science alive by being applicable in all point of time. So there is no change in that has happened over the period of time, because the basic concepts and the objects to which on which the concepts are being applied, they don't change. And because Tantrayukti preserves the originality, and interpretation of shlokas using Tantrayukti helps to gain the depth knowledge of the literature, and by this depth knowledge, the success rate of treatments also can be improved, because when we think about further extended application of Tantrayukti in clinical practices, application of Tantrayukti in doing our research works and presenting the researchers, all these things come into effect. So these Tantrayuktis should be understood, and if they are understood, they help to get a comprehensive knowledge. We can understand the connection between different sthana, different adhyaya, the prakarana, and the given shloka or the concept, so that we get a comprehensive knowledge which will help us in understanding and application of the concepts. Thank you. So I once again thank the team of Ayask Ayurveda, Ayask Ayush, for giving me this opportunity to put forth my views, and I also thank those who are participating and hearing me throughout. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a great and wonderful session. Once again, thank you for making this evening a very good evening, sir.
Thank you.